Postgame. 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 Postgame.
Welcome to Postgame, the second episode of Postgame. Today, in this episode, we're going to wrap up the PBA Hell Week that they had, starting from the Nevada Classic that happened last Saturday all the way to today's World Championship. So we're going to start with the Nevada Classic. I'm just going to tell you kind of who won, and if I saw it, I'll give you a synopsis. If I didn't, I won't. That's how it's going to work. And at the end, I'll give you kind of the two major stories from the World Series of Bowling. So starting with the Nevada Classic, I did not see this. I was busy at the time this happened, but Andrew Anderson won the Nevada Classic finally after, I think it was 2,000 days or something like that he hadn't won a singles title. Maybe I'm misremembering entirely, but this was huge for Andrew Anderson. I'm sure it was a huge confidence boost as well. Then we move in to the World Series of Bowling. Rasmus Edvall from Sweden won the Scorpion Championship. It was his first PBA Tour title. Some other names in there, you had EJ Tackett in there, and Ryan Barnes, just to name a few. Next, we move to the Viper Championship, where Singapore's Darren Ong won. It was the first championship for him and the first championship for his country. Some names there. He had Jason Belmonte, EJ Tackett, Zach Wilkins, and Chris Prather. But ultimately, Darren Ong, who was the 1 seed, would come out on top. Then we move to the Chameleon Championship. Tun Hakim of, I believe, Malaysia won his first championship and Malaysia's first championship. So there was a bunch of history made at the World Series of Bowling, and it's not even over, because then we move to the Shark Championship, where you had Jesper Svensson, Tom Smallwood, Tim Foy Jr., Packy Hanahan, and EJ Tackett in. And EJ Tackett, the best in the world, won the Shark Championship finally, which I'll get to why finally is important there in a second. And then the World Championship that happened today. It was BJ Moore, David Boog Kroll, Tim Foy Jr., EJ Tackett, and then Jason Belmonte. EJ Tackett won the World Championship. 3 times in a row now he has won the World Championship. That is just incredible. To not only be a 3-time, I think even 4-time world champion now, but 3 of those coming in a row in 3 consecutive years, 23, 24, and 25. That is dominance. Now, the stories I want to get into. First of all, the World Series of Bowling was truly the World Series of Bowling. We go all the way down to the Scorpion Championship, where Rasmus Edvall from Sweden won a championship. Then we go to the Viper Championship, where Darren Ong of Singapore won a championship. Then we go to the Chameleon, where Tun Hakim of Malaysia won a championship. And then we go to the Shark Championship, where EJ Tackett of America won the championship, as well as the World Championship. 4 different countries represented through 5 different events. That's just as the winners. There were so many nationalities represented through the entirety of the finals. We also had Canadians and, of course, Jason Belmonte, the Australian. And I'm sure there were others. Maybe I'm misremembering. I believe so. It looks like it was America, Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, and Canada that were heavily represented here. And it was just awesome to watch, especially since the world doesn't always get to see some of these bowlers like Darren Ong or Toon Hakim or even Rasmus Edval. We don't see them often, especially in America on the PBA Tour, because they aren't in America, and some people don't like to move to America just to be a professional bowler. So the fact that we get to see all of these bowlers in action through the World Series is absolutely incredible. And then the final story I wanted to talk about, E.J. Tackett. I'm sure some people are probably tired of hearing his name. I'm not. I could get used to this. The World Championship was his 7th consecutive TV show that he had made. That's going all the way back to the Pete Weber Missouri Classic that he won, unless I'm misremembering. But that is something that is incredible. That's what that is. He not only made the show for the Pete Weber Classic and the Nevada Classic, but he made the show for all 4 animal patterns. 4 different patterns he made the round of 16 for, which was already historical in its own right. And then he made the TV show, which is historical in its own right. Hasn't been done since 2011 when Sean Rash did that. And he was placed... I felt bad in the beginning because it started off with him getting, I think, 2nd in the Nevada Classic, then 3rd in the Scorpion, then 4th in the Viper, then 2nd in the Chameleon, and then finally he would win the Shark. It took him a while to get a win, but I don't think many people realize how incredible it is that he even made all 4 of those shows, and that's what I want to highlight. When you're the best in the world, it doesn't mean you're winning everything, because nobody's done that. Not even Jason Belmonte when he was on top of the bowling world. But it does mean that you are right there, ready to win something, ready to pounce on a championship, and that's what E.J. Tackett was. He was right there on every show since Pete Weber onto the World Championship. And of course, you had the Pete Weber win, then you had the Shark and World Championship win. I know it's early, but I think we have another Player of the Year in store for E.J. Tackett. He's got 2 majors and 4 wins all in total. 2 major wins and 4 wins altogether. That's the U.S. Open, that's the World Championship that just happened, that's the Pete Weber Classic, and that's the Shark Championship. That is dominance, and man, it is fun to watch. I will say, I'm going to acknowledge the elephant in the room. Yes, E.J. Tackett had a very, very lucky but important strike against Tim Foy Jr., and I understand, that wasn't a good shot. That's not what the best in the world does. I'm sorry, but yes, it is, because if we're going to say Jason Belmonte is the best in the world, if you watch the World Championship, he had one go straight through the headpin and knock down the 4-7-10 almost in unison, when it probably should have been left standing. So everyone gets lucky. That's just how it works. Tim Foy has been getting lucky a lot of the year, not getting to the shows. I'm not saying, he's lucky to be there. I'm just saying he's had some strikes that have been very light and very rewarding. But that aside, E.J. Tackett, Player of the Year this year, Player of the Year last year, and the year before that. He's the best in the world, and that's a fact.